Right then. Back to movies everyone's already seen, so I don't have to do so much summarizing. And glory be, it's Black Panther. Some of us have been waiting for this since at least 1994, when Wesley Snipes first started talking about doing it. When that fell through, he did Blade instead, so things still worked out for a while. 2 out of 3 ain't bad. As you should probably know by now, Black Panther debuted in Fantastic Four number 52, all the way back in 1966. His creation predates the founding of our world's Black Panther Party by at least 6 months. Though not its predecessor organization, the Lowndes County, Alabama Freedom Party, which also used a panther as their logo. Stan Lee always claimed that the name came to him in a bolt of inspiration that had nothing whatsoever to do with then-current events. But then again, he says that about pretty much everything. And Lee did serve in World War II, where he could have reasonably seen any of the various unit patches with a panther on them, including my grandfather's own fighter plane group, which still uses it today. I prefer that one for pretty obvious reasons, like the fact their panther can breathe fire. Regardless, King T'Challa of Wakanda joined the Avengers in 1968, but didn't get his own starring role until 1973, under the pen of Don McGregor, who finally laid the foundations of modern Black Panther stories. That's where we first saw T'Challa really have to deal with internal Wakandan politics, and his Freudian shadow, Eric Killmonger. That shot of Killmonger throwing him off a cliff is right out of 1973's Jungle Action number 6. That's also when T'Challa got exiled back to America and fought the Klan, and where McGregor started doing something completely novel for the time. Multi-issue story arcs. No mere 2 or 3 parters, but sprawling, epic stories that could then be collected into softcover editions and sold at actual bookstores. What we now call graphic novels. Unfortunately, that term wouldn't be invented for another 10 years. And the bad thing about multi-issue story arcs is, they read a lot better when you collect them. I'm all about patience. Waited this long for a Black Panther movie, didn't I? But expecting people to wait 2.5 years for a story to wrap up isn't something that I'd call reasonable. Everyone join me for a second as we give Grant Morrison and Brian Michael Bendis the side eye. So sales were low, and Black Panther's solo series got cancelled and restarted 3 times before the 70s ended. He bounced around for most of the 80s and 90s, getting a mini-series here, a guest shot there. Nothing too high profile, despite him doing things like fighting South African apartheid. Until 1998, when Christopher Priest took the reins, and Black Panther stories were, for lack of a better word, modernized. That's where Okoye and Nakia come from, along with Everett Ross. And that's where Killmonger got his gold costume. The Golden Jaguar, I call it, since he's an American cat. Ever since, T'Challa's slowly but surely grown into something like the Batman of his home universe. The insanely rich, insanely tactical motherfucker with a cave full of wonderful toys. And seemingly the only noble on planet Earth whose parents raised him with a sense of noblesse oblige. Except Batman doesn't have a whole country at his back. That's part of why I'm glad they didn't do this in the 90s. Any introduction to Black Panther would have almost no choice but to also introduce Wakanda. You might say, well, they could have pulled it off. All they would have had to do was make Wakanda a series of cool sets with beautiful matte paintings outside the windows. Which they kinda wound up doing anyway. But I'd point to both Spawn and Steel as cautionary tales of how easily 90s movies could fuck up black superheroes. Even my beloved Mantis decayed as his series went on, faster than one of those elements at the bottom of the periodic table. Given all that, it's pretty easy to see why Disney Marvel waited, and still felt the need to sneak T'Challa into Captain America 3. They were paranoid about fucking him up, alienating the chunk of Marvel maniacs who would love to see the Illuminati. Yes, that's what they actually called themselves, in live action. And that's the most charitable reading I can make of this whole situation. The uncharitable one involves Marvel Entertainment chairman Ike Perlmutter, a crusty old racist asshole who constantly fucked with the movie studio until 2015, when studio head Kevin Feige stopped talking to him and started reporting directly to Disney. Perlmutter is, allegedly, the reason Don Cheadle replaced Terrence Howard between Iron Man 1 and 2, the reason Natasha hasn't gotten her own movie yet, and the reason Carol Danvers has been sitting on the sidelines through 2.5 alien invasions and 1 robot apocalypse. And now Perlmutter's running Veterans Affairs, along with 3 other billionaire walking corpses, on behalf of his fellow crusty old-ass New York City racist, our president. But hey, at least we finally got a Black Panther movie. Does its quality redeem the joyless slog that was Civil War? Hell no. No more so than Homecoming. But it does, at last, introduce Black Panther to a worldwide audience in a way that mostly avoids undermining his core appeal. No longer will I have to school self-proclaimed hardcore comic book fans about who T'Challa is, using the dumbest analogies I can think of. Let's see. He's like Batman if Batman were president and worshipped an ancient cat god. No longer will I have to choke back laughter at their dumbass follow-up questions like, "You mean there are cat gods in the Marvel Universe?" Not just any dipshit cat god, pal. You are now rocking with Bast, goddess of motherhood and war, who gets you coming and going. Besides, people have been watching the Norse pantheon's fucked up family drama since at least 2011. Are the Nile River Valley gods really that much of a stretch for you? As with Thor Ragnarok, Black Panther is the story of a young monarch figuring out how to rule a nation, while grappling with the fact that his dad was not the paragon of masculine virtue he always thought. He spends the entire movie dealing with the consequences of some evil shit his dad pulled back in the day, which have come back to bite everyone in the ass, in the form of a secret family member. He eventually overcomes those consequences, not necessarily through force of arms, though that helps, as by utilizing knowledge of his homeland that his secret family member does not and cannot possess. This is an evolution from Phase 1 of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, where being a hero meant, as Jessica Jones' mom aptly put it very recently, being someone who gives a shit and does something about it. Begging the question, give a shit about what, exactly? Well, how about a place? Like, say, the place where you live. It's where you keep all your stuff. But to really give a shit about a place, you have to know it. Its high highs and its low lows. Its thoroughfares and its secret passageways. What it keeps hidden up in the mountains and deep down in the vaults. And if you want to rule a place, well, then you've got to play the Game of Thrones and find some way to balance out all the competing interests that place contains. But while Thor 3 was about imperialism, or at the very least, brought it up for the first time since... Iron Man 1? Has it been 10 years? Black Panther brings up the consequences of isolationism. Not the fake kind we Americans pretend we had once, though we've been an empire for over 100 years. Ask the Philippines or Puerto Rico about that shit sometime. Not even true isolationism, since that was already impossible in a world full of empires, even before they all got satellites. Wakanda's is a bit more of an active isolation. The entire country maintains a secret identity as a mild-mannered tiny kingdom of farmers and shepherds, concealing their literal mountain of advanced technology, made from metal so precious it makes coltan look like copper. Of course, they still deploy spies all over the world, and, Once you do that, there's always a chance one of your spies will start arming the locals. Rather than getting a promotion for that, or a slap on the wrist, and a lifetime of cushy jobs doing talk radio, putting your name on ghost-written books, and consulting for shitty video games, Prince Injobu dies by his brother the king's hand, leaving a son to take up his cause. God damn, the day Zemo bombed Vienna must have been the worst day of Eric Killmonger Stevens' life. Imagine that. You spend years fantasizing about killing the guy who killed your dad, doing all kinds of army shit and all kinds of mercenary shit afterwards, training yourself to your physical peak, watching your target get old and slow, aching for the day when you finally stand before him and declare, "You killed my father. Prepare to die." And then some jumped-up colonel from an equally fictional country blows him up before you can even get into the same time zone. Anticlimax much? I'm amazed Killmonger's not madder about that. But then again, he has the focus and the drive. He made a plan and he follows through, up until his cousin stops him. Which leads us to the dumbest question this movie inspired post-release. Was Killmonger right? Of course he's fucking not. He's too American to be right, and his evil plan amounts to little more than the last 40 years of neoconservative foreign policy set on ludicrous speed. Yeah, go off, King. Send a bunch of high-tech weapons to random people all over the world. I'm sure they'll eternally love you for it, and there's no chance they could ever turn those weapons against you and your new wannabe empire. No, never happened before in the history of ever. Oh no, what are all these shots from Rambo 3 doing in here? Those don't belong in this review. I'm sorry, I know Killmonger means well, he just didn't think it through. His whole life was about getting to Wakanda, and he never planned past that except in the vaguest of terms. His vision, after he drinks the plant juice that gives members of his family cat powers, shows this explicitly. When Cousin T'Challa drinks it, he winds up on a grassy plain with a tree full of all the past Panthers gathered in celebration of their descendants' ascension. When Killmonger drinks it, he winds up back in that, quite spacious, but still, Oakland apartment. He's always there. He never left. No matter how far away he went or how many other people he killed. That apartment is his crime alley. Or his sidewalk across the street from the wrestling venue, to use an in-universe analog. And this is why he instantly became everyone's favorite Marvel Universe villain. Along with the fact that he's played by the second Johnny Storm in a row that Marvel has rescued from an abysmal 20th Century Fox Fantastic Four movie. Not that the competition's all that stiff, still. It's another aspect of the thing I keep harping on whenever I get the chance. How we all want to be villains now, because villains have concrete motivations and actual plans. Most of the time. Shout out to Caecilius. I'd break open the vodka after that too, Mads. Stupid and short-sighted though those plans so often are, they at least represent a break from our grinding, demoralizing, hideous status quo, which most heroes have a bad reputation for propping up. This despite the fact a hero's existence represents a break from the status quo, as with T'Challa here. His dad got schwacked by a random asshole who wanted to destroy the Avengers, and now he has to figure out how to rule a country. Surround yourself with people you trust, his father's ghost says from the ancestral plane. And T'Challa apparently trusts a grand total of 4 people, including his hot mom and incredibly hot sister. But when trying to figure out what to do, he asks his ex-love and current spy, Nakia, who's been around the world and has seen some shit. So she's all about revealing Wakanda to the wider world and offering as much humanitarian aid as possible. T'Challa's BFF, W'Kabi, on the other hand, isn't down with any of that, but he's all for fucking some shit up. And that's about it for this movie's exploration of internal Wakandan politics. What better way to introduce a new nation than by having it get assaulted by an outside threat? Now, Wakanda does have a pretty interesting social structure now that 40 years worth of people have come along to add to it. You've got your miners, your fishers, your ruling class, and your merchants, who, I'm sure, consider themselves the glue holding everyone together. You've also got your antisocial mountain people who are all about the woodworking, aka my people, in the Jabari. And I'm a little sad no one thought of a way to explore all of that didn't involve everyone choosing sides for a climactic battle. But, shit. $150 million Marvel movie, what the fuck you gonna do? Through W'Kabi, we see the border guards, as is true of border guards everywhere, are slightly more militaristic than the average, making them much more susceptible to charismatic assholes with grand visions and dumbass plans, prompting them to sign on with Killmonger and cause a one-day civil war that's much more interesting than the last one this universe saw. But that's not really saying much. This climactic battle's got an armored rhino in it, and that's cool, but shit. It still takes place in an almost entirely empty field. Oh, and Ulysses Claw killed W'Kabi's dad way back when. So I can kind of see W'Kabi aligning with some nameless dude who just wandered out of the jungle with Claw's body in tow. But on the other hand, once a power struggle breaks out, what the hell kind of guy goes with a complete unknown over the best friend he supposedly grew up with? No man is perfect, Nakia tells our hero. She's talking about his dead dad, but the same could apply to his friend as well. And right quick, because I don't have anywhere else to put this, but Andy Serkis's Claw is a real treat. I get the same hit off of him that I got off of Goldblum's Grand Master. Watching an actor have so much fun that I want to call the CDC and report a new communicable disease. Anyone else might have retired after they lost an arm to and got a fat payday from Ultron. But this guy obviously loves the black market mercenary arms dealer life way too much to give it up. I was surprised to find myself actually sad to see him die and become Killmonger's pass into Wakanda. But I suppose it's better to leave us wanting more. See, that's the thing. Everybody around T'Challa has a more interesting conflict than he does. Oh, was your dad a secret asshole? Huh. Most people look at that and go, well, join the fucking club with the fucking rest of us. Oh, you've suddenly got a whole country to rule over now? Here, let me play you a real sad song on the world's tiniest violin. Versus, say, General Okoye, sworn to protect whichever dumbass is warming the throne this week. Because once the military starts deciding not to serve kings they don't like, before you know it, you wake up and you're in a Western Roman Empire type of situation, and those never end well. Or Nakia, who probably thought she was set for a nice swinging spy-fi life, having a fling with the crown prince in between bouts of world travel. But shit. Now he's king. Bast help us all. Or you've got M'Baku, head of the Jabari, facing the latest in a long line of pretentious cat people who pay lip service to tradition even while they shit all over it. And praise be to Hunaman, they gave M'Baku a goddamn Han Solo moment. As if you're not going to show up to the climactic battle at the 11th hour, dude. I half expected him to ask T'Challa to join them up in the mountains and say something like, "You're pretty good in a fight, we could use you." Probably too many pages ago, I said this movie introduces Black Panther to a wider audience in a way that mostly avoids undermining his core appeal. And now it's time to talk about that mostly. One of the problems with becoming the Batman of your universe is that you eventually gather up an incredibly obsessive fan base that will not tolerate seeing you go through a narrative arc, never mind any kind of actual struggle. You're supposed to be the omnicompetent every hero who can take down anyone if you have enough prep time all by your fucking self. The last thing the most psycho contingent of your fanbase wants is to watch you grow into that from a starting point of some kind of insecure young man. You must be frozen in time, a platonic ideal in motion. Especially if your fanbase hasn't had to watch you go through that arc as often as we Bat fans have. And don't you dare speak to people of this movie's already greenlit sequel. They want their mature Black Panther on screen, and they want him right now. Because all they have to do to see him is to check out any of his collected volumes from their local library, or bookstore in quotation marks. Their need for that, and their complaining about it, has obscured most of the actual problems with this movie. Like how it was obviously rushed out to prepare the ground for that other war. Hence the obvious and obviously unpolished CGI, especially in the climactic battle. I get why they did it. Only a pack of fools would miss the chance to put the first Black Panther movie out during Black History Month. We can only hope that Marvel Disney will let their newest hero, and his actually quite strong supporting cast, grow and thrive without interrupting everything every 2 or 3 years for some big dumb crossover event. Oh, who am I fucking kidding? I wish you all good fortune in the Infinity Wars to come. Thanks for watching, everyone. Special thanks to Mr. Hootie Dean, Detective Steve, The After Movie Diner, and Stooge. If you liked this video, hit the like button. And if you want more videos, hit the subscribe button. And if you really like the show, support us on Patreon and get yourself a special shout out in the credits, like these fine people. Next time, Thanos was right. Bullshit.